welcome to episode 14 of the Lottie and Albert podcast. My name is Lindsay and I am a crochet designer and a commissioning editor for Molly Makes in the UK. This is my podcast all about crochet and crafts, what I've been up to in my own time, what I've been working on, whips, finished objects. I am going to be giving an update on the Little Hearts for Grace charity cal that I've been running, and I know so many of you have already got involved with. That will be coming up towards the end. And I also have, this episode, a subscriber giveaway because I've just hit 2,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel, which is amazing. So I wanted to say a big thank you, and I've got an exciting giveaway kit coming up at the end. So yeah, very warm welcome if you are viewing for the first time, and welcome back to any returning viewers. Just filmed this about 3 times, and as a result I've forgotten what I have and haven't already said. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day, so if that was a bit of a useless introduction, apologies. It's a really beautiful sunny day here today. I'm looking very pale. I'm not ill, I'm not sure what's going on there. I've had to put a big board up on the window because it's so sunny, and I've got a beautiful view out across the hills in front of me. We had really heavy snow at the start of this week, which was fantastic on Sunday, but then on Monday and Tuesday when we all had to get out and about, wasn't so great. Here in the UK, we do not cope even with just a light snowfall because we're so unused to it. We have no infrastructure or facilities. Don't even have really like shovels to clear our drives because, yeah, we're useless in the snow. So everything grounds to a halt just after a light dusting. But yeah, the snow has pretty much gone. I live at the top of a hill. I'm looking out the window, which is why I'm looking away. I live at the top of a hill, and so we do still have half a snowman, for instance, outside the front door. My children are quite small, and they built their first proper snowman, the first sort of proper snow they've seen. And it was lovely and really exciting, and we were saying goodnight to the snowman every night and wishing him good morning first thing in the morning, and I came down on Tuesday morning, and he hadn't even like melted in the nice way that snowmen melt on the movies. He had just sort of like, his head had half fallen off and his nose was on the floor, but his hat was still on. It was terrible. I was there at sort of like 7 AM and it was still dark, trying to like patch his head back together before the kids saw, because they thought they would be traumatised. They weren't bothered at all. So there you go. That's my snow update. You don't want to know about snow, do you? Finished objects I'm going to talk about first, and oh my goodness, I have a few. I also have wisps of yarn fluff everywhere. I have quite a few finished objects. If you are a long-term viewer, you will know this is rare. Well, this week I have quite a few. So I'm going to start by talking about some mittens I have been making. I showed these last episode. They were half finished. They are my own pattern, and I made them to match with the Farah hat pattern. They don't match exactly. The Farah hat pattern I have uses similar stitches, but these sort of little heart stitches get more, what's the word, like condensed towards the top. So these ones are just the same pattern all the way through, but I really like them. I think they're really sweet. These are for my children. The light is really strange. Yeah, and we're a bit of experiment. I have had a couple of people ask for the pattern, so I am going to write it up if anybody's interested. I'm also going to need a few pattern testers. I'm hopefully going to have sizes from sort of 2 up to adult. So yeah, let me know if you have a particular size that you would be able to test. That'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. This is essentially ferrule crochet. So you carry the yarn in floats. What is the light doing? You carry the yarn. Can anybody see? Is it just a blur of light? In floats behind. So I think any younger than 2 and children might end up catching. I mean, the floats are very small. They're only going for sort of like 1 stitch across, but I think 2 would probably be the smallest. This is probably a better size one. The smallest. I've dropped one. That's what I'm trying to say. Farah mittens. I've finished 2 pairs. I have 2 children. that's very helpful. They're not wearing them today because I needed them for the podcast. They have got other mittens. Just, that's nice. So yeah, quite happy that I finished those. I don't know what else to say really. This is Sirdar Crofter, which is a really nice, variegated, just store-bought yarn. They have lots of lovely colourways. This white one it's actually sort of white with flecks of red and yellow and blue. It doesn't work quite so well as I think the Sirdar does for these. And then Starcraft DK is the other yarn that I have used for those. So they're nice and soft and also washable, which is good for children's mitts. Don't know why I chose white. Probably not the most practical for a 3, nearly 4-year-old. But there we are. They're my fast finished objects, my mitts. Second up is a project that I hadn't even started working on when I saw you last. And it is a cushion cover that I have made. And it is very tassel-y. Are you ready? Work out the right way up for it. Ta-da! Oh, so tassel-y. This doesn't really have a name. This is just my tassel cushion. I used offcuts of lots of super chunky yarns I had. So if you've watched before, you may recognise this mustard. This is the Rico Alpaca Fashion Dream that I used for my cowl. This is some Debbie Bliss Odin, Conway and Bliss Odin, which I used in a blanket a while ago. And this is a Fildar Flocon yarn, which Hobbycraft sent me, and I also made a pom-pom for a hat out of. That's really like fluffy and quite hairy and fun. And this is what's this one? This is the Brushed Fleece, which is a Rowan. This is like my all-time favourite colour, and I made a cabled hat out of this a little while ago. So they're all sort of leftovers from projects, but I liked the colours together, and yeah, just thought it was fun. Anthropology have got quite a few like big blankets and things at the moment, where they've got tassels all over them. So that was my kind of inspiration and the vibe I was going for. I mean, I feel like this might be a Marmite item. Some of you might love it and some of you might hate it. I basically just did a really simple single crochet backing, and then didn't have enough yarn, so did an envelope back in a different yarn. I actually think I did half double crochets for this. So this is a really simple back. I always do these backs whether I'm doing fabric or crochet. It looks a bit wobbly here, but because you don't have to put a zip in or any buttons, which nobody's got time for that. So yeah, my fluffy tassel cushion. I don't feel this is pattern worthy because it's essentially just crocheting a square and then adding tassels. But I can do a little tutorial. I probably will do a little tutorial on my blog of how to get really squishy fat tassels. Aren't they fun? The sunlight's really bright and it's just skewing everything, sorry. So yeah, my tassel cushion. Can we count these as 2 finished objects? So is this my 3rd? Good. 3. And then my 4th finished object is also a cushion. You may remember, if you watched last episode, I had started some knitting. I am a beginner knitter. I don't know how to increase or decrease or colour change. I can just sort of do like, I don't even really know the names of the stitches, like knit, stocking stitch, purl, knit. I can do those things. That's all I can do. But in knitting, I love, and it always catches my eye when I see things on Instagram or Pinterest, the herringbone stitch. And so I decided I was going to have a go and try and do a herringbone stitch project. And this is what has happened. I won some yarn a few months ago in a Woolly Mahusive giveaway, and I chose this mustard. It is called, is this the right way up? It's called Borgo de Pazzi, and it's so nice. I almost didn't make anything out of it for a while because I was being quite precious about it because I loved it so much. It's really, really I guess it would be like a super chunky 2-ply mustard. I can't remember what fibre it was, but I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, we'll go to Pazzi, and it came in a skein that was like giant. It was a 200 gram skein, but obviously it's so thick and chunky, I wasn't sure like how much I would get out of it. And I wanted a stitch that would really show it off, so I didn't know what to do crochet wise for a while. I was even thinking of maybe just doing, just stroking this cushion, like big trebles, just so you could see the structure of the yarn. But for some reason it popped into my head that this would be an excellent colour for my living room. My living room is all like greys and mustards, and black and white. And yeah, I started making this cushion panel, intending it to be for a 40cm cushion. Now, because I'm not a knitter and I didn't have time to swatch, didn't have the patience to swatch, I just cracked on and I thought that looks about right. But then as I went going, I thought I'm not going to have enough yarn for a front and a back. But equally, I had enough to bring it down to about 50 centimetres in size. And I thought, well, it's knit, right? It's stretchy. I reckon I can get this to fit a 50 centimetre cushion, which we have a couple of that we bought from IKEA and are just like naked on our sofa because they have no backs, and my husband gets a little bit upset from time to time. Why can't we just have cushion covers? I'm like, because I'm making some. I'm in the process of making some. Eventually. I've covered quite a lot of cushions recently. If you've watched the podcast before, you may remember. I made some velvet ones, I've done some crochet ones, I did a few fabric sewn ones. So this is my first knit one, and has finally covered one of the naked cushions on our sofa. It's not perfect, because I don't know, when I drop stitches and things in knitting, I don't know how to correct it, so I just have to like bodge it. But yeah, because I'm not a knitter and because this is so chunky, I knit it using these Prim 20mm hooks that my mum had. They look like weapons of torture, and they're not the beautiful wooden ones that everybody on Instagram seems to have, but they did the job. Hopefully. What do you think? Do you think it's okay? I am pretty in love with it. Like, I know you can see there are points where I've gone wrong, but I think on the whole it looks like the stitch is supposed to look. The light wasn't doing weird things. But yeah, when it came to make it into a cushion, I had to be a little bit creative. I backed it with fabric in the end, and I had to like stretch the width out within an inch of its life as I was sewing it, which was fun. It had like had to put like a million pins in it, and then because this is obviously like a non-stretchy fabric backing, put right sides together, just sewed all the way around, and just really stretched out the knit as I was doing it so that I didn't get any sort of like puckles or anything along the seam. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. But also, if I had tried to crochet this cushion, I probably would have gotten really bored, because I don't like just going back and forth in rows, but because it was knit and it was also new to me, yeah, I loved it. To be fair, I don't know why I've gone to the effort of doing an envelope back, because this is not washable. But there we go. I can take it off for dry cleaning as and when it needs it, which will be never. That's my fourth finished object. Are we steaming through? No, I feel like I'm going quite slowly. I have another sort of finished object. I'm gonna count this. I showed you last time I had started making a Lottie and Albert rainbow blanket in neutrals, and this is it. And I used one strand of eyelash yarn, which is giving it all this fluff. And I know lots of people struggle to know how to use eyelash yarn in crochet, because it's really hard to see it when you've got it on the hook to find your loops properly. I tend to avoid it unless I'm working it with another yarn, such as this. Now, you'll note that this doesn't have any pom-poms on. I am intending for it to have some kind of pom-poms on. But essentially, I'd rolled a ball. I was trying to stash bust and use up some yarn. So I'd rolled sort of 6, those are just my knitting needles, 6 yarns together. just in the sort of quantities that I had. And then I've worked them all up and it's come to this. Now, I do have some of these yarns still that I can work in, but I also have another work in progress that I'll show you now that is using similar yarns. And so I almost want to finish that other one first to gauge how much I have left, and if I have enough left I will include it in this blanket, and if I don't I'm just going to pick like a solid that matches and make pom-poms out of the solid. Did that make any sense? I've worked up 6 balls of yarn. This is what it's got me to. The next stage is on pause because this other project I'm making, I need to finish that first. And then I can use any leftover yarns in this. But I'm still putting it in the finished object section because I don't know. I just have. It's so fluffy and furry. I actually had a friend in mind who, this is really her colour palette and really reminded me of her. And I posted on Instagram and hadn't really told her. She's not like a massive like crochet craft. She does crafts, but she doesn't really use Instagram for that. So I was kind of hoping she might not notice it. But she was like, I love this blanket, can you make me one? And I was like, it is actually for you. Which is nice to know that she really likes it. But yeah, I suppose you can't share something on Instagram and then be surprised when people see it, can you? But never mind. That's another pretty finished object. Which brings me pretty much to whips. Now, the whip that got the most comments last time, I'm just going to put this one on the floor too, was the amigurumi that I had started making for my children for Christmas. If you didn't watch last time, I'll show you the book. I am making 2 creatures from the Animal Friends of Peek-a-Pow book by Jan Schlenkel. And this is it, they're all really adorable. I am making the unicorn, the page for which I have marked. And I'm also making the dinosaur. Here he is. Now, I actually got into crochet through amigurumi and doing a lot of amigurumi from finding a few online that I really loved. And then I also made, which is why he's here, this is Dainty, the Stegosaurus. Any of you who will recognise, he is a Heidi Bears pattern. So the designer, I don't actually know the designer's name, but all her patterns are sort of under the title Heidi Bears, and they all use a series of, these are called African flowers, this little motif. And you can make this African flower, sorry about the light, as like a pentagon, an octagon, septagon, is that one? 7-sided, hexagon, and essentially the pattern tells you how many of each shape to make, and then gives really detailed instructions of how to join them all together. So this is a dinosaur with floppy spikes, a stegosaurus, but there are hundreds of others. There are teddy bears, there are owls, there are dragons. Yeah, the dinosaurs are all often quite popular on Instagram. The hippo, I don't know if that was the original one. There's a hippo, lots of people make the hippo. And you know, you can make them in any yarns you like. I think you're actually supposed to make them in 4-ply with like a 3 or 2.5mm hook. Well, I made mine in DK, and so he came out huge. Obviously they don't have to be this big. The thicker the yarn you use, the bigger they will be. I did see once on Instagram, I think somebody made one out of super chunky, and it was so big they had to like make a custom beanbag filler to fill it with because they could never have stuffed it. It was like, they had a photograph of it next to their dog. No joke, it was like giant. So I really love the fact that with amigurumi you can scale up or scale down just by using different yarn and hook sizes. And so when making these Pick-a-Pow, I'll just put dainty here, these Pick-a-Pow amigurumi animals, I again was slightly stash busting, and I thought, you know what, I've got loads of super chunky yarn, I'm going to make them, I had 3 or 4 balls of this yellow. I thought, I'm going to make them in this, and then they're going to be really big and fun. Well, if you watched last time, you will remember, even I was surprised at quite how big they came out. So the dinosaur, no, the dragon that I started making, if you make him in sort of thin DK sport weight 4-ply, this is how big he comes out. Okay, I have finished his head almost, so I'm going to show you. This is his head. So this is the size he is normally. This is the size that mine is working out at, and oh my goodness, I love him. So this is his little eye that I've started putting on. In the book it calls for safety eyes, or sort of encourages you to use safety eyes, but I realised that by the time I bought a safety eye that big, it probably wouldn't be safety anymore. It would probably be like a giant choking hazard, and also I just figured I'd embroider it. That's really the answer. So yeah, this is his head. These are his horns. These are his ears. He's going to also have like a few little spikes going down the back of his head. Here are all his ends that I haven't sewn in. So this one's going to be for my son. I'll show you his body, although it's not stuffed and is minus 2 legs. So I'm not making bad progress. All the people who laughed and said, can't wait to see the finished ones next time. Well, they're nearly finished. This is his body. These are 2 of his legs. I love the little detail for his toes. They're really fun. So yeah, as you can see, we've got 2 legs here. We're going to have another 2 the other side. This is his neck. I haven't done his big tail yet. And this is his head. As a Stash Buster project, it's sort of wet and sort of not, because I very quickly used up the 3 balls of this yellow I had, and then had to go out and buy some more. So I've bought about 6 balls of this yellow. Now, look at the size of his head. 6 balls of yellow probably would have taken up less space, and they certainly will have taken up less space than when he's finished. So space-wise in my house, I haven't really helped matters. But, you know, he can live in my son's room, right? And so it has freed up some space in my craft room. I'm going to have to try and hide him now because they haven't seen them yet. I mean, I'm under no illusion. I love these, and hopefully you do too. On Christmas Day, they're probably not going to get much of a look in amongst all the cars and trains and scooters that Santa Claus may or may not also be bringing. Or this is his little wing. So yeah, looks a bit like a little foot, but it's his wing. And a giant yarn needle, because giant yarn, you're gonna need a giant yarn needle. That's the dragon. I keep wanting to say dinosaur. This is the yarn I'm using. It's really cheap and cheerful. Marin is super chunky. This is like one of the kind of, it's not really even a yarn store. They sell like towels and sheets and things. In my town sells Marina, and this is sort of £1.25 a ball. It's actually pretty soft. It's 100% acrylic. But I think for kind of kids' toys and things that are going to get thrown around and dirty, you don't want to be using alpaca. And it's got quite a good dense chunk to it, which I think, which I think is also good for amigurumi. I know lots of people like to use crochet for amigurumi because it gives really nice texture and density, like holds its own well. So yeah, I've just used an acrylic out of ease and cheapness really. So that's him. The unicorn, okay, to be fair, the unicorn is not as advanced. He's only really got a little nose. I'll show you his nose. Here is his nose. So he's also going to be pretty big. For this, I'm using several yarns held together. So I've got like an Aran cotton, a shiny sparkly 4-ply, 2 of those, and then this fluffy white eyelash yarn. So I'm holding all of those together, and it's giving me this as the finished sort of look and texture. So now you will see why for the blanket, the Lottie Albert rainbow blanket, I want to finish this project first, because I've put several balls of this sort of like Aran cotton and whatnot in this bag. I actually feel like even that's not going to be enough, so there's probably not going to be any left over for my blanket, but I want to make this fast so that I know how much I've got to play with for the blanket. This is the start of this little guy's tail, or is it his mane? It might be his mane. So I'm using a really fun sort of mermaid rainbow yarn held with a chunky, oh, it's falling on the floor, held with the chunky pink, which is giving this sort of texture, which I thought would be fun for a unicorn's mane and tail. Yeah, the colours in the book are a little bit more reserved and grown up, but I thought he's a unicorn, so I just kind of go for it. So with the, I really keep wanting to say dinosaur because it's Steggy. Because the dragon, I'm using super chunky yarn. I wanted the unicorn to be the same size, but I didn't have any super chunky yarn for the unicorn, so I'm holding other yarns, like held double, or in this case 4 held together, to try and get them roughly the same size. There we go. That is probably the main whip that I'm working on at the moment, but it is tricky because I can't work on it in front of my children, or I don't want to work on it in front of my children, but also it's not really fitting in the project bag anymore, so it's not even like easily hideable. And we don't really have wardrobes. We have like open wardrobes, like a kind of walk-in wardrobe thing at the end of our bedroom, so I can't even like hide them in the wardrobe. Thankfully I have a lot of bags of yarn and other junk, so I just keep having to bury this one under like another few bags and like the bag of stuffing and whatnot. I used half a bag of stuffing just for his head. So what I did with Steggy is I had like a few old pillows which had gone a bit lumpy bumpy and weren't particularly comfortable, like bed pillows, and I think I opened one of those and basically just used the stuffing from that, because it had already sort of like it wasn't feather, it was whatever the other stuffing is, it had already kind of like gone into sort of like, you know how it does, lumpy bumpiness. And so yeah, I used them for Steggy. He is solid. He's a solid dinosaur. He is a dinosaur. Because you want them to hold their shape, don't you? I mean, some of the like Toft ones, for instance, I know they say don't overstuff because they have those little pot bellies and it's nice to give them a little bit of character and movement, but I think Steggy and Dainty the Stegosaurus and these guys who are yet to be named, they will need a good stuffing. They want to stand up on their own. I've talked about this book before, but I don't think I mentioned that each animal has got a really fun description. So for the dragon, the author has called her Gertrude the Dragon, and she says, Gertrude is a renowned archaeologist. She has been working in the Nordic countries and the Balkans since forever, but she doesn't like to die at her age, because everyone knows that dragons can live for centuries. If you do a little research, you'll probably find her pictures in old medieval books. Gertrude has a soft spot for ancient Greek ceramics. I think she probably knew the people who made them. It's not surprising that Gertrude's hobbies are crafts involving fire, glass making, silversmithing, and, of course, ceramics. Which I think is really fun. I won't read you the unicorn as well, but oh, he's called Robin. Do you know, I love the name Robin. I was really pushing for it when I was pregnant with my little girl. We found out she was a girl and I was like, yeah, we can still call her Robin. I love the name Robin. My husband was like, but that was your boy's name. My husband and I did not particularly agree on children's names. We got there in the end and found ones that we agreed on, but Lottie and Albert is what I would have called my children if I had had free reign. So there you go. People occasionally ask why I'm Lottie and Albert on Instagram, and that is why. That's my whips. Well, that's my crochet whips. I have actually started a couple of other whips. Now, I am going to blame my day job for this because I have always been interested in other crafts, always done loads of other crafts. In fact, I only really came to crochet in the last 3 years or so, and before that I used to do a lot of patchwork and quilting, and just, yeah, any craft that my mum was doing really, which was a different one each couple of months. She ran a patchwork and quilting shop, but she also did lots of other crafts. So, for those of you who don't know, I recently got a new job. Well, it was about 2.5 months ago now, with the magazine Molly Makes. I was working in publishing before, but not magazines, and I was a commissioning editor before, but I was not commissioning craft projects. So this for me is like my dream job. I love it. And this is issue 87, which is the first issue that I commissioned. I've got like a super cute polar bear hot water bottle. And yeah, and this isn't the only reason I'm showing you, but it does have my name in it, which I really shouldn't, you know, care about, but it's quite exciting, right? So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to see who it is, I'm totally cool about it. Totally cool about it. There are loads of other fun projects in here, but the reason I am showing you is because I am making what was the cover gift for this issue. Now, cover gifts are organised a lot further in advance, so I didn't actually have any involvement in this one. But I just love it, and it's really pretty make. It's embroidery, and it is this little hoop. The designer is, I will tell you now, Amanda Bride. The designer of this embroidery pattern is Amanda Bride. Do you still say pattern if it's embroidery? It says love. So this love, the love letters stay negative and you never embroider on them. And then, yeah, the fabric comes printed and you embroider around. This isn't like a plug or a push or anything. It's just me saying, I'm branching out. I'm doing other crafts and I'm loving it. So yeah, this has been really fun. I've done little bits of embroidery before, a long time ago. Like, I remembered how to make French knots, but I felt like this was an achievable size. And then afterwards, you can just hang the frame. So this is what it looks like finished. This is what mine looks like in progress. So yeah, that's a little bit of fun. A little bit of, do any of you do embroidery? I know in the Ravelry group that I started and have been terrible about providing any kind of admin for, in the Ravelry group for this podcast, I sort of said, oh, does anybody do any other crafts other than crochet? Like on the introduce yourself feed thread. And oh my goodness, everybody does at least like 3 or 4 other crafts, which is amazing. But also, I suppose, yeah, brilliant. Multi-crafters, all of you. We'll flick through all the other prettiness and beautifulness of the magazine I work for and also love. Not trying to push it, definitely not trying to push it. But if you fancy yourself some embroidery, I highly recommend this pretty little kit. I've also started a patchwork project. I know. I don't know what's happened the last 2 weeks. I think maybe because it's dark from like 4 p.m. I have small children. I don't really leave the house much in the evening, but now I'm really not leaving the house in the evening, like at all. So what are you gonna do? Not housework? No, I just craft. So I've started a patchwork project. I showed you, if you watched the episode after I got back from my holiday in Japan, that I had bought some fabrics in Japan. I'm just trying to get the pile now to show you. I bought this adorable fabric. It's a bit like a fun Liberty print, but it's got tiny pandas every now and again. And I'd also bought this more sort of poly cotton, which I really liked but didn't have a plan for. It's like a pale pink with sparkly gold on it. So those were two fabrics I bought in Japan. And then last week, in the Molly offices, they were having a clear out of their prop cupboard, which is sort of all the bits and bobs they use for photography and styling. And they had fabrics that I think had been left over from previous projects and previous shoots, which they were getting rid of. And because I'm a craft hoarder and I can't resist, I helped them out, relieved them of a few. So these are the ones that I got from the Molly cupboard. Most of them are sort of like vintage sheets. This one's actually a pillowcase still. So I picked up, just this one is a really fun vintage one. Again, I think this was like a sheet or a tablecloth or something because it was hemmed in a really weird way. This is a really pretty cotton. I think these two, funnily enough, actually maybe not this one, are Japanese fabrics as well, just by coincidence. So this is a really nice like mustardy with flowers. And this one is really lovely as well. This one's Antique Treasures. Can't see the rest of the selvage to see where it comes from. But yeah, so like this is a bit Japanesey in style. But yeah, all florals, I suppose, essentially, and all kind of pinks and yellows. And yeah, I was just really inspired by these fabrics and really wanted to make something. And when I kind of had these four from the Molly cupboard and I was looking at these two that I'd recently bought, I was like, ooh, pinks, yellows, okay. Pulled out another couple from my stash because I have a big fabric stash too, from my mum's shop basically. I'm thieving stuff from her. This fun bike fabric. These are probably all Moda. I tell you what I'll do. Yeah, it's a Moda. Little Figs for Moda by Erin Turnmeyer. This is like almost a textured. It's not quilted. I suppose almost like a woven raised hexagon pattern on it, but more of a solid. And this, which I threw in just to kind of pick out the grey in here and in here, and as like a fun monochrome one. So is that all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. 9 different fabrics. And I know I always say it, but I was thinking I could make a blanket for my daughter's room. I'm already making her crochet blanket. She also already has about 3 crochet blankets in there. She loves yellow. I may yet keep this for myself, for my spare room maybe. These are the fabrics I've chosen. Now, I thought I could just do big squares and sew them together, but my mum a while ago bought me a jelly roll book. Now, if you are not familiar with quilting lingo, jelly rolls essentially came about, I think it was the fabric company Moda, as a way of showcasing like new fabric ranges. So where they had sort of 30 or 40 new fabrics, they started cutting 2.5-inch long strips off the width of the fabric, putting them together in a pack. I mean, there might have been more of a marketing strategy behind it than this, but this is essentially what happened. And sending them out for display. So, for instance, this is what a 2.5-inch strip looks like, and this is the length, if you imagine folded double, of most quilting cottons, so between sort of like 42 and 44 inches. And then the upshot of them displaying their fabrics like this was people went crazy for them, because Patchwork has realised that actually you could get some really interesting designs out of a big range of fabrics. And then off the back of that, possibly at the same time, depending on how organised they were, there have been lots of books, hundreds of books released, dedicated to how to make patchwork quilts out of jelly rolls. So if you have a pack of fabrics, all cut into 2.5-inch strips. There are hundreds of different quilt patterns that you can make. I didn't have a jelly roll, but you can make your own. So if you have lots of different fabrics, you can cut them into strips yourself, and then go from there basically. Then follow the pattern as if it is a jelly roll. So this is one of the vintage ones from Molly. This is another of the Molly ones. This is the bike one I showed you. So I've cut them into strips, and then the pattern that I'm using asks you to sew them all together with other ones that you've chosen for background fabrics. I wanted a bit more of like a cleaner, modern look, so for my background fabric I've used the same fabric each time. I didn't bring the book down, which is really silly. Maybe I should go and get it. I'll go and get it. Sorry about that. I've got my book. So this book is called New Ways with Jelly Rolls, and it is by Pam and Nikki Lintott. The pattern, it's almost scraps. The pattern that I am making is this star quilt. But can you see how each star has a different colour background? Well, all of my stars are going to have the same background, so they will look more like bold stars on a sort of plain background, so you won't have quite as much busy interest. But can you see, I just ran up the stairs, can you see how this quilt has lots of different fabrics in it, and is all made from those thin 2.5-inch strips. All the quilts in this book are made from a starting point of 2.5-inch lengths of fabric. So yeah, you can do a huge amount of different things with them. For my pattern, it asks you to sew them all into strips of 2, and then you cut them all into these 3.5-inch blocks. Next, you have to cut them into a certain triangle shape, and then you sew them together to make half hexagons. So this is what mine is looking like. These are 2 halves with the tiny pandas on, and they will eventually look like this. So this is my background fabric. This is actually craft hooder that I am. A sheet, a set of old sheets. That sounds really gross. Some vintage fabric that I picked up from a car boot sale this summer or last summer, and I picked it up because it's got this really nice cross pattern on it. These little sort of plus signs. It also had a sort of along the length like a really big folksy print as well. So this looks quite modern here, but it did have quite a traditional strips across it. But essentially I just cut those strips off, and yeah, I'm using that. Now, I know the patchwork purists among you will probably be aghast that I'm using like a mix of cottons, polycottons, old sheets, new Quilton cottons. This is another block that I've sort of got to readiness. But equally, is that not kind of the idea behind patchwork? So I quite like that I've used a few old sheets and things in here. I'm trying to give you a sense of what it might look like when it's finished. So here's one of the like really vintagey ones, and one of the, yeah, it's really hard to show you. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I've got quite a lot of cutting to do, because you have to cut all the strips into rectangles, and then all those sort of rectangles into triangles, and then all those triangles get sewn into the half stars. Yeah, it's quite a lot to do, but it's okay because I love it. And I think that, I mean, I know I sometimes whinge about crochet, or any craft I suppose. You do get to points in projects, don't you, where you get bored, But with me and this project at the moment, I am loving all these different fabrics. And so every time you have to like cut a strip or sew your sections, you just get to sort of enjoy the lovely fabric again. So I'm really enjoying the process of it. And yeah, just all how I've just tried to pin on the floor, how all these fabrics are linking together. So yeah, I know that probably most of you are not patchworkers, but hopefully that wasn't too boring and that you enjoyed looking at the prettiness of the colours and the fabrics. Because I'm excited about it. I think that the finished result is going to be awesome. And I'm really happy that I've just dropped another pin. I'm really happy that I'm using like one background fabric because I think that's going to give it a more modern, fresh feel. I think a lot of those fabrics are very busy, so using a plainer background fabric is going to help separate that out. So there we are. A little bit of embroidery and a little bit of patchwork for you. Who would have thunk it? That is pretty much me. Just going to give a little update on the Little Hearts for Grace charity cowl. I'm going to show you really quickly something that I'm going to make next because I haven't got enough on the go. And also, yeah, talk a little bit about the subscriber giveaway. Oh my goodness, there's so much stuff around me. The subscriber giveaway I'm going to run from today. So very quickly, my next project is going to be Christmas socks. I have all these sock minis. I crochet socks, I don't knit them. I almost said the word yet. Crochet, definitely, I find a lot easier at the moment. I have 3 of these. I've got another one of this variegated one, which are natural dyed yarns from Annaboo's House, and I picked them up at Yarndale. And I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these Christmas colourway minis that I picked up from Vicky Brown Designs. So I know that lots of people do a Christmas Eve cast on, so I'm definitely going to aim for that. I may even cast them on a little bit sooner, so I'm not entering them in a competition or anything. And I think actually the Christmas Eve cast on is more of like a knitting cowl or competition that somebody runs. But anyway, this is what I'm looking at. I'm going to try and do a pattern from the Japanese crochet sock book that I picked up in Japan, which has charts and only Japanese translations, so wish me luck. That's my sort of dream crochet, my next project. Nearly last but not least, I want to thank everyone who has shared a post or shown support for the charity cowl that Jen of Just Little Jen and I are running. And a massive, massive, massive thank you if you have made or are thinking of making a square for our charity blanket. People have been sending me their squares already. I've talked at length in the last episode, which was episode 13, about the cowl and about all the patterns and the designers of them. Essentially, if you want to get involved, and I would love, love, love it if you did, if you go to my blog, all the patterns are there, all the details are there, and all the information is there. But in a nutshell, we have 7 free square, Afghan square patterns, all based on heart theme, which you can go to the blog and choose from. Choose which one you want to make. You can make one, you can make all of them. Some people have made all of them. That's what I'm showing you now. Some people have sent in 7 of each squares, which is amazing. Choose one, make it, send it to us. We're going to put it together in a big like community effort blanket and then raffle it to raise money for 2 charities, Little Hearts Matter and Bristol Hill Children's Hospital, because Jen and I have a friend in common whose little girl was born with half a heart, and she has just gone through her 3rd major heart operation in as many years. And her family are just amazing. They're always fundraising, and Jen and I just felt like we really wanted to do something to try and help raise money too. So we decided crochet because that's what we know and love, and we know that you guys are amazing, and look how many squares I've had. It's not enough to make a blanket, so please feel like you can still make them. I still need them, but I'm like overwhelmed. This is pretty much just 2 people's effort here. I've got a couple of others here that have been sent, and they're all amazing. Just amazing. Thank you so much. You can pick any of the squares you want. You can just make one, scrap yarn, cotton, acrylic, whatever. We're asking for purples and pastels because purple is Grace's favourite colour. This one is so fun. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy new yarn, just as long as we can like machine wash it. Whatever, like what scraps you've got is great. And also, don't worry if you're a beginner crochet, please don't worry, because you know, we can block them this end, or we can put them together in the blanket. Once they're in the blanket, they'll, you know, don't worry about, lots of people have sent me messages like, is this okay, is this good enough? Oh my goodness, it's absolutely good enough. Like, send me any old stuff, I don't mind. But everything I've had so far and every picture I've seen has been perfect. So please don't worry about your skill level. If you want to get involved, then that just means so much to us. I wanted to read a little message, if you have been getting involved, from Jo, which is Grace's mum, just sort of her response to the fundraising and everything, and just a little bit more information about Grace. It's only a short message, just a couple of minutes. If you really are disinterested and you literally just want to get to the giveaway, then I guess you could skip forward a few minutes, but this is pretty important to me, so I'm just going to read it out. She said, essentially, how amazing it all is. She says, if it wasn't for the amazing research, care and support, Grace wouldn't be with us today. I'm so grateful you ladies have decided to raise money to help. It means a lot. Sometimes people think that after Grace's operation she will be fine. The reality is the operation she has allows her to grow, hopefully into adulthood, and to have a good quality of life, which I am so grateful for, but her heart can never be fixed. Long term, she will probably, as it stands today, need a heart transplant, unless more research means something else is a possibility. I hope by that time she's at the stage we will have other options. Which just, yeah. But what she says next I think is amazing. She says, when you spend some time in the children's hospital, you see so many really sick children, and compared to what some of the families are having to deal with, I feel really lucky. The only way for me to cope and get through it is to focus on all the positives I can. Fingers crossed we can raise lots of money. I know the Children's Hospital in particular have lots of projects at the moment they are trying to raise money for. So I just wanted to read that out because it was a personal message from her. And yeah, oh, as you can tell, I think that she and her family are amazing in the way they've thrown themselves into fundraising as a positive focus on what, you know, is essentially a really horrible, hard situation. But also the perspective that she has on her situation, her little girl. And how, you know, she still says, but there are people in a lot worse situation than me. I feel really lucky. Like, I think, you know, they are such a strong family. And if we can make some squares and make a blanket and even raise a little bit of money for the charities that have helped them, then that would mean a huge amount to me. And I know that lots of you have also expressed, you know, how much you feel for this project. So thank you so much to anybody who's already made a square, to anybody who's thinking of making a square, and to anybody who's hearing about this for the first time now. Head over to the blog and check it out. There's also a JustGiving page where you can read more about Grace and her story of being born with half a heart. So yeah, thank you so much. Last but not least, as a big thank you to anybody who has subscribed, 2,000 subscribers now apparently on this channel. I would like to do a little bit of a giveaway, and I have decided to do a giveaway which I've done before on Instagram, and people seem to really enjoy. So I don't have any of the stuff to show you, but I'm going to put some pictures up and you can use your imagination. I'm going to be doing a giveaway if you're a subscriber for a kit to make Lottie and Albert rainbow blanket. So you will get a 20mm crochet hook, 6 balls, 6 balls of DK yarn and the pattern, and I will post it out to you. So you can choose if you would like a pastel kit or a rainbow kit, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to run the competition for 1 week from today. So today's date is the 16th, and next Saturday is it the 22nd? No, 23rd? Who even knows? Next Saturday. A week from today being the 16th of December. So you're probably not going to get it by Christmas, but it might be a really nice Twixmas gift if you win. So yeah, all you have to do to enter is comment below and say if you would prefer pastel or if you would prefer bright rainbow. Pastel rainbow or bright rainbow. That's all you have to do. Comment below. Make sure that you are a subscriber, because I will check. Because the idea is a thank you to all you amazing people who watch and comment and share and just make me feel generally happy for doing the podcast. And yeah, because I'm blown away that there are 2,000 of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you giveaway. Let me know if you would like a pastel kit or a rainbow kit. I will put it all together, post it out to you. You can make yourself some pom-pom goodness. Thank you so much for watching, for listening to all my ramblings about all my finished objects, of which I hope you were proud of me. My giant amigurumi, which will be finished by Christmas Day. My patchwork, my embroidery, my future sock project, my little Hearts of Grace cowl, and the giveaway. Was that everything I talked about? Yeah, pretty sure it was. So yeah, thank you again for watching and for spending some time with me. Oh my goodness, will I be back in 2 weeks? Because that'll be between Christmas and New Year, won't it? I was thinking, will it be Christmas Day? I don't want to podcast on Christmas Day. My commitment is not that great, I'm afraid. But no, it won't quite be, will it? It'll be in between. So I reckon actually that'll be a pretty good podcast time. It might even end up being a slightly different day, depending on when I get the chance. But we don't have much booked in. We're looking to have a pretty laid-back Christmas and New Year. Just the right mix, hopefully, of seeing friends and family and also some chill-out time. I am anticipating that I am going to get a yarn winder. A Swift is what it's called. I have a ball winder, a Swift. So, yeah, next time I might not have made anything. I might just have like 10 balls of wound sock yarn to show you. So if that's your kind of thing, tune in next time. No, seriously, thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas, or happy holidays, or just general December goodness if you don't celebrate Christmas. I hope you have lots of crafty positivity and making days over the next 2 weeks until I see you again. Thank you again for watching, and yeah, please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed watching. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.